Mr. Mayor, we like.
Great, thank you, Mark. So today is May 17th, 2023. The time is 5:07 p.m. and I'm calling to order the Baldwin Park City Council special meeting. City Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Mayor Estrada,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. Let the record reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Garcia is absent. Council-
She sent a text that she won't make the 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Enrique. Councilmember Avila. Here. Councilmember Ayala.
Here.
Councilmember Damian.
Here. Great, thank you for that, City Clerk. So at this moment, I will open up public communications. If anybody is looking to speak, did anybody fill out any speaker cards?
No, Mayor, at this time we have not received any requests for comment.
Great, seeing as nobody's looking to speak, I will move to close public communications and we will open up our open session, and we have a presentation for the Caltrans Agreement Pavement Restoration Project presented by Sam Gutierrez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to check with IT to see if Caltrans is on the call.
Yes, we are. Do you want me to do an introduction on our end from
Yeah,
Caltrans
we
side?
can hear. Okay, yeah, I didn't see you on the screen, so I didn't know if you had checked in yet. Thank you. So, yeah, we have prepared a brief presentation regarding a Caltrans project. This is a rehabilitation project along the 605 freeway, which will be impacting city surface streets in terms of 4 scheduled detouring. And so to talk about it, Mehdi is here from Caltrans and his team, and we also have David Lopez from our engineering team. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to Mehdi.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us over. Aside from me, from Caltrans, I have Julio Valdez from our traffic management division. Also, Rudy Hartono from our project, he's a project manager. And we also have Joe Sartell and Andy Kwan. These are from Transsystem, who prepared the staging and detour plans. And also with us is Jason Hagendorn, who is the design lead. So if there are any questions regarding any of these, I'm going to go over the presentation, and if there are any questions, we can answer that. But next page, please. Thank you. So this is a project that's going to be on the 605. As Sam mentioned, the only impact to the city of Baldwin Park is when we detour onto Baldwin Park and also Ramona. So the entire project is from the 10605 interchange all the way to Telegraph Road, and it's about 10 miles, and it goes through 8 different cities: El Monte, South El Monte, Baldwin Park, City of Industry, Whittier, Pico Rivera, and Santa Fe Springs. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I'm going to briefly touch on the project scope. This is not just a rehab project; it's a multi-asset, what we call it. So I'm gonna cover as much as I can. I don't want to get into too much details. We're also going to discuss the proposed detour routes and talk about the traffic management strategies, and also briefly touch on the target project schedule. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is it's 605, as you know, it's the pavement is really poor condition. So we're going to replace the entire numbers 3 and 4 lanes, completely replace them, and that requires extended weekend closures, 84 of them. These weekend closures won't completely shut down the freeway. The lanes will be reduced to 2 to 3 lanes. So the extended weekend closures will be from 10 p.m. on Fridays until 5 a.m. on Mondays. And these will go on for a while until we replace the number 3 and number 4 lanes. In addition to that, we're going to change the individual slabs on the HOV lane, number 1 lane, and on the number 2 lanes, and also the SR60 connectors. We've counted about 880 slabs that going to need replacement, but that could be more as we get into the project and see if we see more. We're going to replace more of them. We're also going to cold plane and overlay the mainline outside shoulders and on and off ramps and SR60 connectors. And the detours that we discussed, we're going to get into it a little bit more details. We're going to show you our plans, but it's going to be going to Ramona and Baldwin Park Boulevards. Next slide, please. In addition to what I mentioned, we're also going to replace existing AC ramp. None of these will impact directly the city of Baldwin Park. This is the entire scope of the project from on the 605 from 10605 interchange all the way to Telegraph Road. Also, we're going to upgrade the overhead signs on the 605 roadside signs and change the striping and make some modifications to some of the ADA ramps. Also, we're going to replace some selected bridge approach slabs and rehabilitate some selected landscape areas, very few of them within some of the other cities, and generally improve the roadside safety. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed detour routes. Just the first sheet. We're going to have go into more detail. So with that said, I'm going to ask Joe Sartell from Trans-System to take over and explain some of these. Joe, please.
All right, thanks, Mehdi. So what we've been looking at doing is having detour routes for some of the ramp closures throughout the project. So as Mehdi mentioned, when they reconstruct the contractor reconstructs the number 3 and number 4 lanes out there, where the ramps tie into that reconstruction, when that pavement's getting reconstructed near the ramp connections, we'll need to close some of these ramps. And what it will be is for 55-hour closures. So it will start at 10 p.m. on Friday night, and then it'll be reopened to traffic on Monday morning at 5 a.m. So if we go to the next slide, please. This is the first detail of one of the detours that goes through the city of Baldwin Park. So for this particular detour, it's the northbound loop on-ramp at Valley that's being closed. And so what we would do is have traffic on Valley being detoured up Temple Avenue to Baldwin Park, and then they would re-enter the 10 going westbound on the 10, and then they would take the 10 westbound connector to the 605 north. So that again would just be during that extended weekend closure when those lanes are being reconstructed. So we've got 4 total detour sheets to go through. This is the first one. And so if we can go to the next slide, please. So this will be when the pavement is getting reconstructed right by the 10 where the project will end. And so the connector for northbound 605 to the westbound 10, we have a detour proposed to, as you're heading northbound on the 605, to go past the 10 and go up to Ramona and exit Ramona Boulevard to make a left, and then come down to Durfee and head left, take a left turn to go southbound on Durfee, and then they would re-enter the 10 westbound at Durfee and Garvey Avenue. Okay, the next detour slide, please. So these are detour routes again for the northbound 605 to, or sorry, the westbound 10 to the southbound 605. So that's on the left side of your screen. So for that detour, they would be going past the 605. So instead of heading southbound on the 605 from the 10, they would go past it, stay on the 10 and exit Baldwin Park, and then come down Temple and then re-enter the 605 southbound at Valley. Then to the slide to the right, we can stay on that one. The loop was the other one that gets closed. So if we can go back one, please. So on the right half of your plan, the detour 49B, that one is the loop ramp to go from northbound 605, or sorry, the westbound 10 to the northbound 605. So that detour route is similar, again, going down to get on at Valley. So a similar detour, but that one's for the loop versus the diagonal ramp. And then if we go to the next slide, this is the last detour that has a detour route through the city of Baldwin Park. And so this one is as you're heading northbound on the 605 and want to go to westbound on the 10. When that loop is closed, they'll continue northbound on the 605, exit Ramona Boulevard to make a left, and then come down to Peck Road and make another left to get onto the 10 West at the Valley and Peck Road interchange. So these are the detour routes that will go through the city limits. And again, it will just be on those weekend 55-hour closures. And if we can go to the next slide, please. And Mehdi, I think you're going to cover the traffic management strategies.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sure. So some of the traffic management strategies, we're going to target 30 minutes or less traffic delay. Also, we're going to have extensive public awareness campaign, press releases, media, and social media posts, fixed changeable message signs to display advisory messages to alert motorists of lane or road closures. Also, 14-day advance notifications with portable message, changeable message signs, and also remotely controlled automated work zone information systems with portable changeable message signs to alert traffic of the closure and advise traffic to use alternate routes. Well, this is the part that we've actually initiated the co-op signal retiming by cities. We've initiated co-ops with eight of the cities that are on the corridor, 605 corridor, Baldwin Park being one, which we basically compensate the cities for their efforts through an executed co-op agreement. This is for if the retiming of the signals are necessary. And as Joe mentioned, some of these signals might need to be changed, but that will be something that will be communicated during construction with the resident engineer and the city before the closures happen, or to find out if they need to be changed or retimed. In addition to that, we're going to have COZIP and also freeway service patrol. And for lane number 3, we had some cross sections. We didn't want to get into too much details, but lane number 3 is the most difficult one. It will take less number of extended weekend closures, but we have disincentive clause in the contract to reduce the number of weekend closures as much as possible. And also we have liquidated damages clause in the contract to make sure that the contractor doesn't open the freeway past the deadline, which is 5 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Next slide, please. And this is generally the project schedule. We're in the design phase, getting very close to wrapping everything up by June of this year. And we're planning to advertise the project in October, awarded in January of 2024, and begin construction. Sometimes I would think not spring, maybe summer, because once you award contract approval, and by the time the contract comes in and procure some of the material they need and mobilization and all that, it will take some time. So my best guess would be they start construction at the beginning of summer of 2024. And this is a long duration project, including plant establishment will be about 5 years. So target date would be summer of 2029. Next slide, please. This is the end of the presentation. If there are any questions, we can answer those.
Mayor?
Marty, this is a question for both of you, Enrique, city manager. Would it be fair to say that you will be phasing in the work going from south to north, meaning you would start down at the Santa Fe Springs area and then move northward toward Baldwin Park? So the timeline for the work in Baldwin Park would be toward the end of the project schedule, around 2028, 2029?
No, that's we don't stipulate the timing of when the contractor starts. So that's going to happen once we award the contract and contractor submits a schedule to us. Before we start construction, we'll have a pre-construction meeting and the city representatives will be invited. So you'll know when the construction is going to happen. But no, we're not going to tell the contractor which end to start and which end to begin. That's not going to be in the contract.
All right. So there isn't a geographical phasing. It could be anywhere in the project
depends,
scope.
Yeah, it's up to the contractor where they want to start.
And if Mark can go back to the specific closures that will occur in the Baldwin Park area, is there one in which there's detour of traffic through any of our city streets? I don't think there is one. They all immediately get back on the freeway, or in the case of Durfee, they would go to El Monte. But is there one in which there streets detour of traffic in?
Yes, the closure at the loop on Valley Boulevard will detour traffic through Temple Street and then onto Baldwin Park Boulevard.
For that short stretch
For
before
that short stretch.
when it
so-
gets to the 10 freeway?
Right, so it will impact Bess Avenue, which is signalized,
Yeah.
Dalewood, which is also signalized, and then onto the freeway. So it's just a short span.
Okay.
We do expect that when reviewing the project and analyzing the closures, the impact to the city of Baldwin Park is going to be minimal, we
Right.
expect. However, we do have on the agenda for the regular meeting an agreement with Caltrans to mitigate any issues that come up during that in terms of traffic control.
And whether, I think it's appropriate to bring up because it's a priority to the city council, but whether in the next agreement, Sam and Marty, the whole maintenance agreement on the shared responsibility for the 10 and the 605 corridor that I know the council have asked us to really solidify with Caltrans, is it in that agreement, or can Marty help us with the maintenance side of Caltrans?
So I'm
No.
sure Mehdi can help us with that. However,
That's a
that
sep-
is an entirely
Yeah.
separate agreement. That agreement was revised at the end of the construction for the freeway widening. And so we do have a maintenance agreement in place,
Separate from,
separate from this, yeah.
but you can help us, right, Marty?
I'll try, yes. I'll do my best.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to update, since we're talking about it now, that we are engaging our team and Caltrans' team, this is the maintenance side of the team, on determining what that is. And once we have it sorted out, Caltrans and city staff will come back and present to the city council to learn where those deviations are at. Okay, so then with that, that concludes our presentation.
Great.
Thank you,
Sam.
Mayor and City Council.
Yeah. So I have a question that's not related to this project specifically for Caltrans. Is that okay?
Mehdi, is
Sure,
that
go
okay?
ahead. If I can answer it, sure, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hey, Mehdi. So, as you know, Baldwin Park has 3 freeways, and we have a bridge underpass. So I've seen a couple of other cities that have a little bit more decor in their freeway corridors. How can we have a discussion as to how we can make the Baldwin Park freeways look a little bit more aesthetic?
I can provide some contact information and some processes to Sam and David, if that's okay, because I can't give you an answer right now. It's not in my court. There's a process we have to go through. So I can provide some information to Sam and David, if that's okay.
Okay. So I'll wait at that information, then we can.
Yeah, we have
move forward then.
we have some processes for beautification, things like that the cities can, take the lead, or there are some processes that I can provide that that's maybe tomorrow or Friday to Sam and David.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Great. So that concludes our presentation. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, the Caltrans team. So at this moment, we're going to move on with our ARPA updated presentation. Sorry. We're going to move on with our ARPA updated presentation by Rose Tam, Director of Finance.
Yes. Hello. I think it's working. Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Tonight, I'm going to provide you an update on the ARPA funds. Next slide, please. As you may know, the city of Baldwin Park received about $22 million for the ARPA funds, and we have allocated or proposed to allocate the ARPA funds so far as of today to about 70 programs and events, and which is great news that the city, with City Council's direction, we have try to utilize the ARPA funds for the city and the communities. Since there are about 70 programs here on the list, I'm not going to go over every single one of them due to the limited time we have for the special section. And I will just going to go over a few items that might be important to bring to your attention. If you have any questions with any of the items on the list, please feel free to ask me. And I have also provided you a hard copy of the PowerPoint, also provide you a hard copy with the comments on the side for everyone's reference. And the first slide is for IT. IT, under the IT, all those programs that handled by them, there are about 8 projects or programs that are handled by IT. If you don't have any questions, and I'm going to go to the next slide. This slide shows one of the project that handled by HR and one project handled by city clerk and 2 handled by finance department. And if no question, then I go to the next one.
I have a question, Rose.
Yes.
How many chairs were purchased? Do you know?
Say that again.
How many chairs were purchased?
How many chairs? I do not exactly know how many chairs. However, with the cooperation and team effort with recreation and HR, they have purchased lots of chairs for almost every department at the city. And I think that there are some chairs that still waiting for the E-team to get some chairs. I believe not every E-team members have ordered their chairs. That's why you see there are about $15,000 left there in the total appropriation.
Yeah, because I mean, I would like to know how many chairs we purchased. $59,000 on chairs.
Yes.
A lot of money. So, how many departments? What departments? If you can give me that information, please.
Right. I will ask Manny and HR to get the information for you and email it to the city council after this meeting.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, next, please. The police department, they have about 50 programs or events and that are under their management. And I would like to mention about the crossing guard. And
I
yes,
have a quick question on the PD since you're there.
yes,
So I know that you emailed us this twice and then you gave us this updated one now.
yes,
So under line item number 13 for the body and vehicle cameras,
yes.
there was an appropriation of 546,000, but there was nothing incurred on there. So
Mean
when
the
did-
previous one that I'm emailing to you.
yeah, the previous 2 emails, the most recent was last night.
Yes,
It didn't have an amount there.
yes,
So with this new update that you just brought us now, there's now an incurred expense of 455,627.
yes.
How did that come about from overnight?
Yes, I received an update from the police department that this morning, and it seems they have purchased the body and vehicle camera, and they have an invoice that they informed finance department this morning. And chief is here in case you have further question for the chief. Chief, would you like to update the city council? What happened on this item?
Sorry to interrupt. Chief, could you check that your microphone is turned on?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, perfect.
I
Proceed.
apologize. There was a clerical error with one of the staff, and I wasn't made aware of this issue until this morning. We've made some changes in how we're processing our bills, making sure that we account for them appropriately in a timely manner. That's about as
Okay, got it. So this was an invoice that was already in
correct, and we were
there.
just
Wasn't
forwarded to
forwarded
finance.
to finance.
Correct.
Okay. So, okay.
I have a question about that. And it's not just for the police department, but for all the departments. When they have expenses, I'm sure they have a balanced budget that they go by that is given by you, Rose. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how soon after they make a purchase must they notify you of that purchase? What is that process? In other words, I would like to understand how it is that you don't get notified right away. How does the process work? Do they just make the direct purchase from their department and then they send you the invoice? How does that work?
How does that work? Every year after the budget has been approved, and all departments will, based on the approved and adopted budget, they will submit the requisition to the finance department. And on the requisition, let's say they want to purchase certain items that the previous policy procedure was $2,500, and recently we increased to $5,000. Any purchase over $5,000, they have to provide 3 codes. They have to indicate 3 codes on the requisition, and that the best practice is to go by the lowest code, unless there is special need that they need it from certain vendor or certain contractors, then it would be exempt from that. And then from there, we issue a purchase order. And whenever the department receives their invoice, then they will submit the invoice with the PO. And we always encourage, and not just encourage, we ask all departments that they should submit their invoices to the finance to have it processed ASAP as soon as they receive the invoice, so we can provide an accurate and timely financial report to everyone.
Okay, so just for clarification, maybe I'm not understanding. So if I'm in the city clerk's department and I'm the one in charge of purchasing everything, for example, I place my orders.
Yes.
They don't go to your department first to approve for the second time, although I already have a budget. It doesn't go to you and create a PO. Once that PO is created, then it gets ordered, because I handle all the purchase orders.
Yes.
At my department.
Yes.
And I place the orders, I send them to my fiscal department. They then give me a PO. So they're already aware that I'm purchasing certain items, let's say the chairs, that I'm spending $59,000 on the chairs, for example.
Yes.
And let's say I made an error and I overspent. So they immediately know that, hey, Alejandra, you spent too much money in this area. You don't have that process here where it goes immediately to you, so you can cross-reference the amounts so things like this doesn't happen?
We do. The policy supposedly they should follow the adopted budget amount. They shall not go over the adopted budget amount. And however, once in a while that happens. And in our Tyler financial system, we set up a warning, and when we enter that, and the system will tell us if it's over budget. If it is over budget, we send that back to the department and tell them, oh, you're over budget. You need to find the funding to cover that portion. And most of the time, they might have other line item that they have more budget there that they can transfer from those to cover that. But the transfer has a limited amount. And
Let me stop you
within,
there really quick. So if I place the order
Mhm.
and I'm over budget, for example, the system stops me from continuing my order. You don't have that system in place with you, with Baldwin Park?
We do not practice like that at this point. They go by the adapted allowed budget amount to place the order. And they should be responsible to place the order within the adapted allowed amount.
So maybe it's something in the future we can look into, because I'll place my orders, and like I said, there's different account numbers to charge depending what we're ordering or for what department. And when I'm placing that order, if I'm over budget, it automatically stops me from continuing my order, and I have to directly contact fiscal to get that balance fixed. So this type of errors don't happen. So maybe we can look into
However, we can it can be already prevented because all the budget amount have been entered in the system every year. As soon as we adopted the budget, we upload all the budget amount line item in the system, and we also send a monthly report to each department director, and they already have the control. We also hand out a hard copy to each directors. They already have the dollar amount there to go by before they place the order.
So, Rose, so what it sounds like is you do have a policies and procedures in place for that, right? And you have the budgets already, and they know what their budgets are.
Yes.
So is the problem here that the invoices are not being turned into you in time or in a timely manner?
It happens.
Okay, so what we need to do is we need to make sure that all department heads are turning in their invoices as soon as possible. Are you giving them a timeline? Do they have, I don't know, a week? What is the timeline that you have in your policies and procedures to the department heads that they must turn in their invoices to the finance department?
what is their deadline for purchases?
Is it a week? Is it a month?
We say as soon as you receive the invoice, but we can update our policy and procedure and give them, let's say, 1 week or 3 days.
No, I mean,
For
if you-
example, sorry,
if they have
you
it.
can have like 2 different timelines for the year. For example, let's say December, by December 12th, you need to spend so much, let's say 45% of your budget. You need to have that amount spent. And then let's say by March or April, you need to have the rest spent. That way it gives you money to balance your accounts before the end of the closing of the year.
Right.
So give them a date that they need to be spending certain amounts of money by, and that way you can track them and you can make sure that they're returning the invoices to you, because you would be able to know whether that money has been spent or it has not been spent, or where they're at with their monies too.
Yes, very quickly. However, we have the policy and procedure, the year-end one, that we send out a notice in May, that we mention to all departments, you must return or inform your vendor to submit all your invoices for fiscal year ending June 30 and by certain day, and submit all your requisition and PO by certain day. In May, every year, we had that.
I have a comment. And I understand what council members Damian and Avila are saying, and I agree with you to a certain extent, but I feel that it's the department head's responsibility to be in charge of their monies and what they're allocated and how, they're being turned in a timely manner. And I appreciate that Rose is the overseer, making sure that, those monies are being taken care of and held accountable, but it's the department a director of that department in charge of, making sure they're not submitting in a timely manner and all of that, and that they're not overrunning their budget, right? That's my understanding, because that's how it is in my own classroom. But thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, next, we can, I will also email you the year-end policy procedure. Next slide, please. I just want to bring your attention and that the ARPA fund has been helping out the crossing guard and in 2023, and the city worked with the school district, have them contribute 50% of the crossing guard. For example, the city only spent $124,000 for the crossing guard expenditure. And in 2024, and we propose half of the crossing guard, which is 159,000, and the PD already working with the school district and have them contribute another 50% to the crossing guard. And due to the limited funding we have available, and we only allocate about 1/3 of the annual cost for the the fiscal year after the next one. And if no question, I can go to next slide. I just want to give you a little update on the crossing guard. Next, please. Next slide, David. For the community development, we have about 4 items under their management. As you may see, they have the Oath to Country Foundation Veteran Home Rehab Assistance Program. And that program was going very well now, and they already spent the $25,000, which was originally appropriated. And in, I believe last month or the month before, and the program was running so well, and the city council came back and request for another $25,000 to assist with that program. And that's why you see there are still $25,000 sitting there available that has been appropriated for this program.
Rose, quick question for you. And you don't have to go back to the slide before that, but
yes,
on item 25 and 25A.
Yes.
From 24 to 25A.
Yes.
You've got the Pride Platoon and you've got the Domestic Violence Advocate Program.
Yes.
So we are for fiscal year 23 and 24.
Yes.
We're pulling that from ARPA. So going back to 25, we're going to start pulling back that from general fund, because this has always been general fund money that we've been allocating to the Pride Platoon and to the domestic violence.
Yes.
So,
CDBG.
Well,
And-
I mean CDBG. So
Yes.
why are we allocating?
I think that's what.
So excuse me, I'm a little confused. So if we are allocating from the CDBG for the Pride Platoon and the domestic violence, and then we are allocating an additional $19,000 and $20,000, $7,000, $8,000. Why is their funding not increasing? Where is this money going? Is this just a placeholder, or because to my understanding, under the CDBG, for example, with the domestic violence, there was a $22,000 allocation from CDBG for the
Yes.
fiscal year.
Yes.
So this here is telling me that there's an additional $15,654 for 23 and 24. So where is this money going if it's not added to their budget?
Oh, it will be included in their budget. For
Okay.
example, item 24A, that was from the request from last city council meeting, the city council and with Carmen and Cynthia make, and city council direct staff to allocate $20,000.
Okay, let me
In
stop you real quick.
addition
Let me
to
stop you real
CDBG.
quick, Rose.
Sorry, yes.
And I don't want to get into the CDBG because that's on the regular agenda, but now I'm gonna have to pull out that item. So we never gave direction as to the amounts that were supposed to be allocated. We never gave direction as to what groups were gonna be included. We just gave direction to come back with an ARPA balance. And then we on the council were gonna decide what amounts were gonna be allocated to what groups and what groups that were gonna be allocated to. So now I'm really confused because on the CDBG allocations that we have the domestic violence. We had originally allocated $22,000 from the CDBG. And then
Yes.
we're allocating 8,000. So I see what you're doing. So what you're already adding here based on the amounts that someone decided to add on this staff report on what they feel should be allocated to each group. Is that what happened?
Yes, this is
Okay,
only
so-
a proposed request
Okay, so that's
adding
where-
to it, and it still has to be approved by City Council.
Okay, so that's where I was confused. So the 8,000 that you're showing under 25A
Yes,
is already taking into consideration pulling from the ARPA that we had directed at the last council meeting,
yes,
and then they allocated those 8,000 to what's now on the staff report.
yes.
Okay, so I thought this was 8,000 additional, and I wasn't sure where this money was going, which brings me to the next question. So does the police department have their own bank account? Do they have their own account?
In other words, they have their own funding. We have a bank account to share all the fundings. However, how we control their funding and all their bank, in other words, we set up a call center or department number for them. Then we keep track of all their funding under that department, which is 30. And between police, we have each call center.
So is this, but this is all added within the general fund? So
Yes,
let me give you an example. Let's just say domestic violence has a case where they have to go out there and they have to go get a family, a mother with children,
right.
and she needs to place them, or they need to place them in a hotel for the night,
Yes,
and they need to grab them something to eat because they haven't ate.
right.
So let's just say they need to spend $200 from there.
Yes.
Do they have the ability to say, I have this ATM card and I'm going to go and pull from my fund to pay for this?
Let's say chief has the credit card. We give a director credit card.
Okay.
They can use that credit card to pull $20,000 or $2,000. Then they bring back the receipt to finance. And since let's say you approve the 8,000 tonight, for them to use in ARPA fund. So when the police chief or his staff bring me the receipt, and I will charge that 2,000 under this ARPA fund, the $8,000. The $8,000 will be reduced to $6,000. So in other words, their bank account in the allocated approved ARPA fund will have $6,000 left. But if we give them 10,000 in general fund, he bring me back the receipt of 5,000. His account under general fund will be reduced to $5,000.
So do you have like a sub account under the
Yes.
general fund for the PD?
Yes.
So you mean, so each department head has their own department credit card.
Yes.
So does that mean that whoever's handling the domestic violence case has to contact the chief, and the chief now has to come out to use the credit card, or how is this going to work?
Sometimes they come to us to issue a check, then they give it to the hotel directly to help those. Let's say there is an urgency for a family need to stay in a hotel, and we have to pay the hotel. Either they can pay with a credit card, or if they know ahead of time, they come to finance. We issue them a check.
Okay, so I think, and we brought this up at the last meeting,
Yes.
the urgency, for example, it's the middle of the night.
Right.
We have a police officer that is trying to help a family. It's 2:00 in the morning and they need to place them somewhere.
Yes.
This, the police department doesn't have a credit card immediately ready for the police officer to take this family to a hotel.
Yes.
They have to contact the chief to use the credit card,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So they don't have direct access immediately. They can use their own credit card and you would refund them.
I will
correct?
reimbursement the next
Right,
the
but they
next
don't
day.
have something from the city issued that they can use immediately. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes, the
And
current
there-
policy is not every staff can have credit card. Only the department or their designated manager or staff has the credit
There's
card.
a question of practicality, right? We try to reduce our exposure to credit cards just because of the danger of, identity theft and other things. But at some point, the practicality can take over and say, well, yeah, the chief can be called at 3 a.m. So if it's in your discretion, chief, that you feel that one other person, however, we can talk about giving someone else a credit card that can be used in those circumstances and not only by calling the chief, then we should arrange for that. But
Maybe the
we-
watch commander for the night, because the watch commander would be readily available. And I'm saying the night because office hours are closed, and that's when most emergencies happen.
Yes.
Have the watch commander have access to that money. So in case of an emergency, our officers can just directly take, or the watch commander assist in making sure they get a place to sleep.
Yes.
That would be ideal.
Yes, with the discretion or chief's order, or we can designate someone to have a credit card to handle that area. Maybe Cynthia
Well,
have a
probably,
credit
yeah,
card.
whoever's in charge of domestic violence should handle that. And just another quick question, and then we got to move along. But I know that they get people from the community that either purchased some of the stuff that they sell, for example, for breast cancer awareness, when they're selling the keychains or whatever it is, the patches and all that. And then there's times where people want to make a donation to them. How would they be able to do that? There's a lot of people that want to Zelle nowadays or Venmo, and they can't really do that when it's going straight to the general fund. So wouldn't it be wise for them, in a sense, to have their own separate account for that purpose?
It's not going to general fund. We set up a donation account for whoever or whatever event there is donation. We put it in the donation trust account. It's not going to. It's
But
not going
is
to
it a
general fund.
general donation trust account, like, for example, for the whole city,
no.
or is it per department?
No, I set up a project number to keep track all the donation for each special event or for specific program. Yeah, that's a lot. That's
Okay.
why it's lots of work involved in finance if we really want to do the right thing. And I make sure that I have my staff set up a project number to keep track of each program or each event.
Perfect. Okay.
So the money won't mix up or commingle with each other.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, in that area, you can have the trust in
Yeah,
me.
no, and I just wanted to
Thank
get a
you.
better understanding as
Yes.
how all that, because exactly, we don't want it to be commingled, right?
Yes,
So if they have their own separate account or a sub account, right?
yes.
Are they able to say, yeah, go ahead and Zelle to this account, and it'll go to that account that you have set up for them?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's say if they have donation for street market, we have a special account set up for the donation or contribution for street market event or concert at the park. So when recreation work in that program, and certain costs will come from there.
Perfect. Thank you for that explanation. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Next slide, please. Do you have any question on the community? I assume you don't have. For public works, let's see. There are about 8 projects under the public works. So I want to bring up your attention for one item here. And the City Hall improvements, including council chamber, due to the recent market or price increase, as many of you may know, and the construction product, the price has gone up dramatically. So at this point, and Sam already have all the drawing and planning and of the beautiful council chamber that they plan to build. However, that amount appropriate there will be about enough to renovate the whole city council, but it won't be able to have enough money to renovate or remodel the 3rd floor that they original plan to. Just want to mention that to you.
So if we're not going to be allocating the money to renovate the 3rd floor, where are we going to be using that money at?
Oh, what I try to mention to you, the money, the 3 million that we appropriate here will be about enough to do
Oh,
or
just the
renovate the
chambers.
whole council
Oh,
chamber.
they haven't went up that much, huh?
Yes.
Okay,
If you have more question, you can.
perfect. No,
Sam
I just wanted
can.
to, no.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna have some extra money there, that's why.
Yeah, just want to mention to you. However, it would be enough for the council chamber.
Welcome to suggest that we do the third floor instead of the chambers. No. Really?
As long as you get rid of these lights, I don't care about anything else in the chambers. Just these lights and upgrade the sound, and I'm fine.
The chamber will be very nice, will be good for the community, for the council, for the long run, based on what Sam has sold us.
Adding a vestibule out in front.
Yeah,
for
you
like,
will be, I think you will be very pleased.
Now, can we lock that in before that goes up in price?
We're working really hard
Yes,
at trying to lock it in by this summer.
yeah. I tell him fast and underlay. Did I say it right? Underlay. Yes. Okay. I'm going to be fast also, so you can go into other session. And next, please. Recreation. Sorry if I talk too fast. I try to get this done with limited time. So recreation has about 27 programs under their management. And I want to bring up one item to you. With the senior program, and recently we find out there is available funding from the CDBG CV, and we have subsidized about $232,000 for 2023 fiscal year. And that's how we can free up some money for other program in the community, and that you can do some more thing as you suggested in last council meeting. You direct me to go back to see if there is other funding available, and that's how we can allocate some more money to those programs, and that you will see in the staff report that they are going to present it to you in the regular meeting. And also, there are still about $232,000 that we can utilize from CDBG CV fund from 2024 through 2026. If we can utilize that, it means there will be another $232,000 free up from the ARPA fund that you can utilize for the community program. And that's one item I want to bring up to your attention. And next slide, please. And that's the program continue under recreation. And we also work with recreation that they have asked us to, for example, allocate $100,000 from the program that they don't see they're going to use up all the appropriation. And also they reallocate certain money to the Santa Claus program and from other programs that they don't think they are going to use all of the funding. Next slide, please. And next. Also, we have an animal control program that utilize the ARPA fund. For example, in 2023, we subsidized with ARPA fund for about $333,000. As you may know, animal control costs continue increase dramatically, and we already projected the cost for animal control for 2024 will be about $676,000, which will be appropriated and assisted by the ARPA fund. I just want to bring that to your
Rose,
attention.
quick,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Rose. Quick question on the 65 and 65A for the LA County Animal Control.
Yes.
We're appropriating the 333,000. We're expended the 333,711 for fiscal year 23, and then we're allocating 676,259 from the community set aside for 24. What are we going to do when we have to go back and pay for this out of general fund? Because these are expenses that I'm going to be honest with you. This is the first that I ever see, unless I missed it, that we were allocating almost $1 million from ARPA community set aside for the LA County. That I wouldn't have went for that, because first of all, this isn't for the community. This is something that we pay for out of general fund every time that we have to renew our agreement with the LA County. So what's going to happen when we have to go back to pay for this out of general fund money?
If we don't see additional revenue coming to the city, that could have
Huge
causing
impact.
a cutback or deficit, or we have to go
Okay,
into the reserve.
So this is my next question for you. Are we using, are we allocating this money for ARPA? Was this one of the ways that we were able to balance the budget? By allocating this funding from ARPA? That's a huge concern. That concerns me a lot, because we're talking about $1 million in 2 years. We're not getting the revenue that we should be getting for the general fund. So what's going to happen when this money is exhausted? How are we going to cover now all of the expenses that it's good that we're taking advantage of the ARPA.
Yes.
But for me, this is $1 million that could have went to the community for something else, right? It could have went towards, building a new family service center, something that's desperately needed in this community. There's a lot of things that are needed in this community, especially in the times that we're in right now. So I just wish that I would have known that we were going to allocate from ARPA in order for us to balance the budget. I don't know, was anybody else aware of this? Because I wasn't.
No, this is just a propose, and it will be including in the 2024 proposed budget. And it is true, unfortunately, animal control costs continue going up. In next fiscal year, you might expecting about $800,000 bill from the animal control. And in the last few years, fortunately, we have received some revenue, for example, from the cannabis that we can contribute to help with this area also. We allocate about 30% of the 30 to 40% of the cannabis revenue to police department to assist with many different programs. And
Okay,
that's
so-
the reality, that we continue getting increase from animal control that we cannot avoid, and we have to pay, that we have no choice, but we have to pay the bill.
So we'll address some of those other things.
Yes.
Honestly, I don't even know what the budget's going to look like for the next fiscal year. But I
Yes.
guess we can tackle that at the next meeting.
Right.
And we can tackle on the LA County Animal Control, if it's even worth keeping it, because I don't really see them benefiting the community.
Yes. Within 2 years, you will see $1 million bill. We already kind of know the projection. After next year, we might expecting over $800,000 bill, and
Only 1
then
year.
after that, and it's going to continue go up dramatically.
So let me ask you, Rose, for what's already been appropriated, right? So for the city, we've appropriated, and you know what, never mind, because I'm skipping to the end. Go ahead, finish with your presentation. I'm sorry, Rose.
Yes, thank you. So there are some team project For example, those couple of projects you see at the bottom is a team effort with recreation, public work, and community development. And if you don't have question, and we go to the next page, for example, the Gavi program has doing well, and they are working on it. And next slide, please. Thank you. These are the citywide program, for example, has related to the COVID, which already happened, and most of them is completed, except the Next Gen Youth Workforce, and which is a very successful program, and to the community and to the young generation. And we use about half of that, and we are going to carry the other half to this coming year. And as you all may know, we already have program, have workshop for the high school kids. Next page, please. And these are the couple program proposed that which you will see at tonight's one of the staff report at 7 o'clock regular meeting, and I put up there to be determined. So at this point, we could not decide what department this program will go to until the City Council approve that. Then as a E-team together, we will decide who will handle those programs once the City Council approve them tonight at the 7 o'clock meeting. Thank you. Next slide. So this will bring up the summary for the ARPA. As you may see at the bottom, the total money we receive is 22,917,000, and we have allocated 50% to the city side and 50% to the community, and we have appropriated, including the new request, which will be included in the 2024 proposed budget that will bring to you a review consideration in the very first meeting in June. And we have appropriated about 10.6 million on the city side, 11.4 million on the community side, which will leave the total balance of about 780,000 under the city side. And I think we really need to reserve that balance there due to lots of capital projects are still on its way or haven't started due to the continued costs going up. And we have about $52,000 available under the community. However, as I mentioned earlier, I also have a footnote at the bottom. There is $232,000 available from CDBG fund that can be used for the senior meal program. If we spend that with the compliance that are required, then we can free up the $232,000, and I will put it in the community side and to be used for other community program, since the senior meal program is appropriated under the community. So if we free up the money there, the money will go back to the community for the city council to utilize them for any programs that is benefit for the community. And also we have a requirement within the $22 million, and we only allowed to have 10 million of the 22 million to be used as revenue replacement, which is similar like general fund. They are unrestricted. And I put 2 asterisks on all the program on the whole list, which one of them belongs to the revenue replacement. With all the appropriation, everything added up, and we have about $84,000 left, which we have appropriate them, try to utilize this benefit on all the programs that can be only grouped under the revenue replacement. And this will conclude my update on the ARPA fund. And thank you very much.
Rose, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Last meeting, we asked to give us a balance of the toilet program because we know we didn't use the 600,000. And we wanted to know what the balance from that was.
Okay. The toilet program, based on my memory, originally we appropriate 800,000, then we came back for about $600,000, right, Sam? And then last presentation that Sam gave, because of the rebate that we might receive from the water district, and it might go down to 450,000, something like that. However, I don't want to remove from the appropriation until we receive the rebate.
And that'll go back to the
Then we'll free
ARPA?
up that money for the community to use again.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I put a placeholder there and about $100,000, and hopefully we will receive the rebate. Then we will return to the community use, not on the city side.
Do you know how soon that rebate will be done, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting ready to launch the program in June, and depending on demand, but as we go along and toilets and shower heads are replaced, we're going to be processing rebates on our end. So we have a staff member that's going to be helping our consultant doing all the processing, and so we're going to be doing them every 30 days that we replace them, and the following within 30 days apply for the rebate. So we're
Okay.
going to be doing progressively as we do the work.
Okay, thank you.
Rose, I do have a question on on what's been appropriated and expended. So as an example, on the city side, we've already appropriated $10.6 million.
Yes.
We've expended almost 3.4 million. So we have about
Pardon me. Hi, Dave. David, could you please put the last slide up again?
So when you subtract the incurred expenses, it leaves about $7.3 million, $7,279,000 that hasn't been expended yet.
Right.
What happens? Is there a possibility that not all of that will be exhausted?
It is. The possibility is there.
Okay. And so then that will free up money for the city set aside.
Yes.
Same thing with the community, since we've appropriated 11.4 million, but we've only spent 2.2 million.
Yes.
We have about $9.1 million that hasn't been spent.
Yes.
And there's a lot of things from looking at this list that not $1 has been spent. Like, for example, the Baldwin Park now, I know it's only 12,000, but all those amounts, what is the deadline for us to have to use this money by? When do we have to use it by?
By December 2026.
And so when will we be able to go back and say, well, we're in 23. So then maybe like in 24, 25, you would be able to come back and say, well, this amount hasn't been spent. Or can we just go down the list and say, since no one's using this, can we just allocate it towards,
Yes.
as an example, the $12,000 for the Baldwin Park now, it's not being used. Can we allocate it to the Santa Claus program? Is that
Yes.
something that we can do?
Yes. We can reallocate or reappropriate any unspent fund to any other program.
Okay.
But that has to be done by December 2024. The budget
December
has
24.
to be done by the end of 2024. However, you are allowed to spend all the money
24.
by December 2026. At any time, you can, since I gave you this list, I went over them again. I spent few days to make sure they are correct, they are good. So this will be your map of ARPA
Okay.
And so you can go down to any list, and I also list the department there for your reference. So anytime you see the need, you can discuss with certain department who handle those programs and talk to them. Or if you see $200,000 still sitting there not spent, do we have the need to really need this to be there? Or if you have certain program you think is urgent, that you can discuss with the department director or city manager to come back to reallocate them.
So we're going to use this as our roadmap for now.
Yes, yes.
When, if there's an update on this, will you email the entire council the new updated list?
Yes.
So we know what's already been, or either one.
Yeah,
So we
they
know what's already
both
been
the
spent?
same, yes.
Okay.
Maybe as a
Thank you.
time marker, the time to fully obligate, to your point, Councilmember Avila, the obligation has to happen by December 2024. So for as a time placeholder in your mind is the 24-25 budget development, that's probably the time to fully obligate.
And sorry, for your benefit and everybody's benefit, I can plan. I know it's lots of work, but I will do it. And to provide you a quarterly update. And if we spend money on certain program and project, and I will send you an update. With all the department has helped submit their invoices to me timely. Then I can provide a timely quarter report. And thank you, everybody.
I wasn't picking on any department in particular. I just want to make sure that we're all working together so we're on the same page. So when you provide this information, we have a better understanding of where we're at with our balances. And I know it's not an easy thing to do, to keep track of the money and your invoices and your POs and all of that. I understand that, but it is important in order for us to know exactly where we're at, that is updated on a regular basis. And that's for all the departments. I wasn't picking on anybody. I just want to make that clear.
And thank you for your understanding, because ARPA is only one of the program and grant. We have to oversee all the grants and other budget or other funds. And thank you again.
I just want to emphasize on the obligation, right? So it has to be obligated by 2024. And so we're only a year and a half away from that. Time's going to pass by really fast. So we want to make sure that we're kind of keeping our eye on it and figuring out what actually constitutes obligation so that we don't end up in limbo. It's also something to keep an eye on is the one of the things that a lot of the associations are talking about is a potential clawback of an obligated ARPA funds by Congress as they try to reduce their deficit in the
Yes.
budget. So we want to keep an eye on that and obligate as much as we can if we know we're sure about it.
Right. Make sure that they are going not to take back any dollar or a penny. We obligated by, I will make sure to remind you, everybody, to obligate it by the end of December 2024. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Well, if there's no more questions, we will move on to closed session. And then we will see everybody at the regular council meeting at 7 o'clock.